He or she who cares least wins. That is a popular phrase and principle describing how emotional detachment can grant power and leverage in relationships and negotiations. Thank you, AI. And it reminds me, or I was already thinking that in terms, I've talked about my sober mantra of who cares, which I stole from woman Carolyn from Survivor from a couple years back, who was also in recovery. And it also even reminded me of a great sales tip, which is you should never speak until after you wait for the person to finish speaking and then tap your foot 4 times. And inevitably, they'll start continuing to talk. So that's very helpful when you're talking to a client. If you're a salesperson talking to a client, you want to get information out of them. You just need to relax. Which reminds me of another mantra I've talked about, which is that the true measure of success is a calm nervous system. And I have definitely achieved that in sobriety. And where I'm really going with this is I read something, and I thought I took a screenshot and I can't find it, but it's along the lines of, you've truly kind of recovered when nobody's words can affect you. And I wish I had the exact quote. I have something somewhat similar I found that said, you wouldn't allow anyone and everyone to have free reign over your physical space, so you shouldn't allow anyone and everyone to have free reign over your emotional space. And I really love that. And I talked about recently how I broke up with a friend that was essentially stressing me out, kind of a know-it-all contrarian type. But also I'm talking about, I want to be at the point where nobody can say anything in terms of, maybe some constructive criticism that might devastate me. There's been times, I'll be honest, I'll open an email, maybe from my mother, and she has, blasted me in the past, rightfully so, maybe on a trip where I was super selfish in my drinking days. And there was something recently where I opened up something where I thought the person was going to be very critical of me, and I was starting to fortify myself for it, but they weren't. But the point is, I have gotten to that point in sobriety, and I'm getting more so every day, and I love it. I just shared, and I just spoke so freely, freer than I ever have, which I got to give one more great meme I just read. It said, a guy maybe tweeted, he said, people are always like, you're so brave being so open about your mental illness. And then the person said, and I always want to be like, oh, that's actually just the mental illness speaking. And I love that. I love that as well. And, I've always said I'm low-level schizophrenic, low-level mentally ill, as we all likely are in some ways. And that's why we all need to do the work. And that's why we are the luckiest, those of us with this little drinking problem, that are called or forced to do the work in order to overcome this. So where am I going with all this? Heck of a question. I guess it is just all about the joy of being authentic and not caring, and being honest, including, with my therapist. I just told my therapist a story that I've never told anybody, and it's so funny how all of us, especially those of us with drinking issues, would even lie to our doctors about how much we drink and lie to our therapist. I heard a guy talk about that recently. It's just so silly. So there's so much joy in being authentic. And one more quote I'll throw out is, honesty demands a toll once. Lies charge interest forever. And it's so true. So I guess that's how I'll wrap it up. The joy and authenticity that comes in recovery. At least it has for me. And it can for you. So that'll do it. Stronger, sober. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks.